So your EBITDA margin is going to tell you how much revenue you have, after your operations, after your OPEX and your COGS. And so if this number is drifting a bit without you noticing, growth can look like amazing. Like, we have a bunch of revenue, but if your EBITDA margin isn't there, then your profitability is eroding. And so it's very important to know this number. And I'll show you in this tutorial, how to calculate revenue, your cost of goods sold, your OPEX to get EBITDA, and then to create a margin, and then also do the EBITDA margin to create a line chart, and then also to create this bar chart here. And so let's get started. So here in the data tab, you have date, month, service line, and then we'll need revenue, COGS, OPEX. And so this is I clean these are dummy data sets, but I clean them up. And so you might not have a data set that looks like this, but you can create it from an export of, say, Service Titan or your export of QuickBooks. And so whatever softwares you're using, you can export that into a CSV, and then you can model it, and clean the data to create something like this. And so let's get started. The first thing we want to do is we want to extrapolate the month from a date here. And the way you do that is with the text function. And I already did this to show you the finished example, but I'll just do it again. So equals text, and then you want to get the value. So where is the date? So in this example, it's cell B2, and then type in 4Ms and you'll get the month. The text function is very valuable. So you could also, if you wanted, say, the day of the week, you could do the same thing to get the day of the week. But for now, we just need the month. Okay, so first we need to get a list of the months. So you can just type in January. Also, if you want this file, there's a download link in the description. But if you just want to learn how to do these things without following along, then you can just watch this. And so the first thing we want to do is we want to do revenue. We want the sum of revenue if the month is January. So Excel has a formula, sum if s. There's sum if and sum if s. I always use sum if s because it's multiple criteria. Even though this is only one criteria of January, you might have more. Say January, revenue of January and maintenance. And so I always use the sum if s because sum if s also works for a single criteria. Okay, so we're doing revenue. So the first argument is the sum range. So where's the range that you're trying to sum, which is the revenue column. And then the next range is the month, comma. And then we want, I think it's in cell B3. So right here, B3. Press Control Shift and the number 4, and you'll get a $sign, and then you can just double click to drag that down. Okay, so we're going to do the exact same thing for COGS and OPEX, but I'm going to show you a little trick, just so you don't have to redo the formula. So if you drag this over, you're going to get an error. And the reason is because the columns are changing. G is going to H, C is going to D, B3 is going to C3. So you can see it here. So we do want H. We do want to move over to COGS, right, which is the next column here. So we do want to sum H, but we don't ever want C to change. And as we drag this over, we don't want January to change to this number, which is what's happening. You can see the blue box. But as we go down, we want it to go to February. And so what you do is you don't do anything to G, but you need to lock C. And by lock, you press F4. And this is called absolute referencing. So now, if you drag it over, drag it down, C will never change. And then for B3, we want to lock the column. So put the $sign before the letter B. And this is called relative referencing. And then you can just copy this, and then you can just paste it down, and then you are good to go. Okay, so we have that. So the next thing is we just need EBITDA, which is going to equal the revenue minus the sum of these two. So we have that. Again, you can just drag it down or copy and paste it down. So the EBITDA margin is pretty straightforward. It's just EBITDA divided by revenue. And if you remember before, we did the dollar Control Shift 4 for the dollars. Now you can do Control Shift 5 for the number, and then maybe just add a decimal there. All right, so got that. Pretty straightforward. So the next thing is we want to create the line chart. So just highlight these two. So to highlight, just highlight the month and then hold down the Control key and highlight the margin. Go to Insert and then you can go to Recommended, or you can just click on the line. And then you have the line here, And then, I mean, you could do column, you could do whatever type of chart you prefer. For these types of examples, normally lines or columns are better. And you can just sort of see there's a lot of variance. You know, I mean, to be fair, this band isn't very wide. So the variance is, 29 and a half ish up to 31. But again, 2% of EBITDA, say you're doing, 300,000 a month, 2% is 6,000, right? So, I mean, 72,000 over the course of a year. So there is variation. That's another employee. Okay. And then finally, if you want to add values to this, just when you click in the chart, you'll see this little crosshair, and then you can go to data labels. And then you can format these however you want. You can make them bold, you can change the colors. I mean, you can change the size. I mean, colors, here if you want to change the colors. So yeah, there's a lot of customization you can do there, but I'm not gonna do any of that just to save some time. And then the next thing we want to get pretty much the same thing, but instead of doing it by month, we want to do it by service line. So we want a unique list of the service line here. So in other words, we don't want duplicates of the word service. We just want a unique list. So you can do equals unique, and then from there, go to the data, and then service line, click in cell D1, hold down Control Shift, and then the down arrow, and you'll highlight the whole column. And then you can press enter, and now you have the service line. If you highlight it, press Control C, and then Control Shift V, as in Victor. Then you can remove the formulas, because what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to sort this. I'll just highlight all of this up here. We're going to want to sort this in a little while, just to just so the chart is smallest to largest. So again, the formulas are pretty much the same. It's just you're going to be changing the month column to the service line column. So again, it's going to be revenue as the sum range, comma, and then criteria range. It's not month, but it's service line. And then you want to press F4. If you remember, we want to lock that. And then the next thing is we want to go back here, and then we want to go to cell B19, and we want to lock again before the letter, because we want to lock the column. And you can press F4. If you look up here at the top, you'll see it cycling through. And so you can just press F4 until it gets to cell B19. And then again, Control Shift the number 4 to get the $sign, remove that, copy it over to OPEX, and then paste. And then you have all of this. It makes sense, right? Your installations are going to make your most money. And then for this, I'm not going to actually do the math. I'm just going to copy this. Copy, and then paste. Again, just showing you some little tricks. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to do the same thing, but with a column chart. So here, and then here again, hold down Control, Insert. Again, you can go to recommended. It's right here. Or if you just click, if you click right here, then it'll give you the same options. So we have that, and then we can again change the color, call it maybe EBITDA margin by service type, and then let's just sort this. And sometimes it gets a little bit weird with sorting, but let's just sort this. Go to data, and then if we do largest to smallest, yeah, see how it sort of messes up, meaning like this is still going from here. It gets a little bit weird sometimes with that, and then we have to do this as well up here. And just to fix this doesn't make any sense. Yeah, that's why. So the thing is like the sequencing is right. Right, so it is smallest to large, but you have to go, because what happens is the formula stays on the install, even though it's in the top row, and so it's a little bit weird. I mean, you have to change the referencing to fix it, but right now it's fixed, so it's good to go. It's just an annoying little problem. And then if you want data labels, you can go from there. But yeah, so that's how you can calculate your EBITDA margin, and your EBITDA margin by service type. I do understand that you might not have a clean data set like this, and you might be patching things together from different, CSV or different exports. And so, but it is possible. You just have to sort of know some of the functions, and some of the big ones are going to be the SUMIFS that we just learned, COUNTIFS, which is pretty much the same. It's just counting the number of rows. or the average ifs, which is just averaging the range instead of summing the range. And so you learn those 3 functions, and then also some text functions. And so I'm going to be adding a lot of text function videos. And also at the beginning of the book, you'll see the text functions. But that's all I got for this one. If you have any questions, if you want the data source and all that good stuff, you can just shoot me an email, questions@databoards.io. And if you would need some help, combining the files to get like a clean data set, just shoot me an email, or in the description of the video, there will be a link to set up a time to chat. But anyways, that's all I got for this one, and I will see you in future videos.